imperfections, those little blemishes that really make it look, I think, pretty.
Hey guys, here with Mikhail, who is a beginning knife maker.
Yeah.
And making some pretty cool stuff. So, wanted to talk a little bit, do a little knife banter, talk about knife making. I'm intrigued by it. I think it's an amazing talent, skill, and I just love custom-made knives.
Exactly.
You
buy them
yeah,
all.
glassy-eyed, right? You all know what I'm talking about, man. They're gorgeous.
I think I'm putting shiny, sharp.
I wanted to do a few videos and just kind of have a little chat with some knife makers. So Mikhail is a friend of mine, and so we're going to start here and talk a little bit about some of what he's doing.
Well, I know it sounds like a long time, but in fact, I remember it was like 2008, maybe 2007-ish. I started with, I was on all these bushcraft forums, and forums. I wanted to make my own knife, so I went and I bought some steel, watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I got a crappy Harbor Freight. I think it's under there somewhere. One of those 30 by 1 inch belt grinders. Mm-hmm. I spent hours, probably a good 20, 30, 40 hours on this one blade, just trying to, it was a big blade. It was way too much, 1/4 inch thick, 5160 on with that little crappy sander. And it was, I had limited tools. It was really frustrating. And so I went and I showed it to a friend before it was complete because I had no way to heat treat it. I just figured I'll get to that when I get to that. And I showed it to him, and he was very encouraging. He's actually a very well-established knife maker, does amazing things. And I just kind of off and on it from there on. It's like, I wanted better tools because I went and I tried somebody's beautiful actual 72-inch belt grinder, and I could do more work in 5 minutes with that than I could in 2 hours with the Harbor Freight. So I just couldn't go back to it, and it was just frustrating. I designed a bunch of knives, some that are pretty well known.
Do you still have that first knife?
The Bob? Or the first knife?
The first one you did. You still have that?
I might. It is in my box of shame.
In your box of shame.
Let me see.
All knife makers have a box of shame.
And that's the thing, is I haven't finished it. Either I've already recycled it, but it was this pattern. This is it. Actually, I wrote it right on the side, McMaster card. That's the 5160.
There you are.
And the reason why it doesn't have a hole is because I couldn't figure out how to drill. Oh, no, it's not this one. Okay, I'll show you. So I tried several, but I remember I couldn't get through the hole because I didn't understand. I couldn't drill a hole in it because I didn't understand annealing. That's it right there. So I've already started hitting it with a hammer, to try to forge it. But I burned out so many stinking bits trying to get through that back end because I didn't realize it was hot rolled steel. So it's been, hardened to a degree. And so I did that one. I gave up on it, and so I tried making that one, which is basically the same pattern. But that's all ground with that Harbor Freight nonsense. And this one right here, I figure there's enough steel that I can forge it into something, but, until I get there, it goes in the box of shame. And I learned a lot. This is kind of a big clunky thing. And then...
Yeah, and I think that's important to recognize as any kind of an artist. I was telling my daughter this the other day when she started painting, and she didn't like her second painting.
Yeah.
Any kind of an artist has a box of shame, or they have the things that didn't turn out, the pieces that don't quite do what you expect.
You learn so quickly what you're actually doing that by the time I'm done with the knife, I don't want to, I don't like it. Because it's like I could already do better, and I see the mistakes, and I know where I screwed up, and I just want to make it pretty enough that somebody will like it, and I can get rid of it, and maybe recoup some costs.
Which means the next one is going to be that much better.
Yeah, and they get better and better, and every time I think that I was like, ooh, this is my best one yet. That lasts for like maybe a day, and then you're like, oh, that piece of crap. I gotta sell that to somebody, so I can get money for more materials, more steel, more wood, but it's. You learn little tricks, and that's the big thing. I studied. I watched so many videos. I went down and I apprenticed with Taigu for a week, forging down in Arizona. Taigu's pretty amazing, knife maker. And I just studied and studied and studied, but it wasn't until I actually started just spending the time to do it that it came together. I got the context. I understood how things applied, and then I just started learning really quick because I started filling in those gaps with actual practical experience. And yeah, I'm almost to the point where at least with what I've been doing, I feel comfortable where I feel like I can execute what I want and get it 99% of the way there. And then the other part you learn is, good bladesmiths are just adept at hiding their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I think that's the thing with any artist is the people who are looking at it, the customers, don't see the mistakes like you do.
They don't know what's happening.
As an artist, we look at it and we're like, we
I
see
messed
everything.
up that spot.
But somebody who loves the knife,
and that's really what it is for me. It's art. It's
they're not worried about it.
I want it to be functional. I love the technical excellence. I love understanding the metallurgy and making sure that it's got a heat treat spot on. And I'm still not to the point where I see those dudes online where they make a beautiful knife and they go, let's go break it, and they put it in a vise and they're hammering on it. I'm like, oh,
don't do that.
It still represents so much work and time that I just can't. I'm not saying I don't destruction test them, but reasonable test. I'll put it in the vise and I'll see, if it's flexible. I test the edge and roll, and the thing is, I've got a formula, and I base the formula on other bladesmiths, a couple of them I know that were on Forged in Fire, the champions and so on. So I just call them up or email them or get them on Facebook when they're not watching, and it's like, hey, what's your formula for heat treating this particular steel? And they've been really nice. So unless they intentionally sabotage me by giving me bad information.
I find most knife makers are really good guys. They're open. They're encouraging. It's an awesome industry.
It's a fun little club.
People,
Well, and I would say that among the custom, the guys who really enjoy it, because I'm also hearing that the knife industry is somewhat cutthroat, especially with the larger volume manufacturers or the mass producers or even certain individuals. I don't know who exactly, but I've heard people allude to them where they'll just go rip off whatever they can just to look new and fresh. So there's you got the guys who love it, and then you got the
people who want to mass produce and just make money.
And then those guys,
they're not the artists.
It's just like anything. Exactly. They're just looking at dollar signs.
Yeah.
It's like my stoves or everything like that. Chinese caught wind of it, and now, hey, it's all over the place.
Emberlit stoves. Go check them out. We'll put a link in the video, but that's...
Yeah. I'm not frustrated.
Isn't that kind of where you got your start as far as business?
Well, originally I freelanced art forever, or little crafts. I mean, I've been making leather and slings and just stuff forever. Portraits. So I love creating stuff. As far as making a legitimate business and selling outdoor gear, in that sense, it was a stove. Yeah, Emberlit. That was just an accident. Honestly, it was like, hey, I need to sell this many so I could buy my own from the laser shop out of stainless steel. That's my goal. I just wanted one for me, and then it took off.
And now they're in Cabela's.
Yeah, they are. and you know what? They keep me afloat, and I'm working on redesigning. I have so many things now that I got to get done. But the knives are really a fun distraction because, I've been a professional artist for a long time. 15 years now, plus. Almost 20 years, yeah. I guess technically, at least 20 years. And that's what I'm doing right now. Upstairs I'm working on, a little armored night guy for a television show. And, it's fun, but because it's work, it kind of sucks the life out of you. You lose the enthusiasm sometimes because you're worried about bills and you're on a schedule and you have to get things done. And so with the knife making, I want to mass produce knives. I want to sell them because you know what? That makes money for me to go fishing and camping. But I don't want to do all the work. It burned me out. And so that's why I haven't been taking orders. I haven't opened the books. My friends are taking advantage of it. Like, that's a cool knife. Can I have one? Okay, come on over. And sometimes we always work some trade or something like that. That works out pretty nice. But I like doing that because then I get to express myself. I make something beautiful. I'm not held to, a customer's specifications per se.
And the schedule.
Exactly. I do. I finish it whenever I finish them, and if you're quick, then you can buy it because, like I said, it's side hustle. I've been using it to fix my Jeep, pay for my tires and repairs, and then my original goal was to get a little fishing boat. That's what I was going to do all the knife money for. But other stuff comes up. I'm still gonna, that's what.
It's still there.
It's the high. It's instead of playing video games or watching
make a few
TV.
more.
Though I am binging Netflix right now. Stranger Things. But yeah, this is just a way to be creative. It's a great outlet. I mean, I'll come out here at midnight and start forging, just to get rid of some stress. And I make something pretty, and I'm enamored with it for like a day. It's like, oh, I'm never gonna give this away. It's the perfect knife. I love it. And then 2 days later, it's like, I wonder who would like this one. Because then I get to make another one. But that's
and fix the Jeep.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. But like I did, I don't
so
know
is this one that you've got here the latest? Is this the latest?
Yeah, this is the latest one I finished.
So
I think. No, actually, well, these are technically latest.
Okay.
These are I'm proud of. I haven't shown anybody these yet because they're already spoken for. I know. I showed it to one guy, and he's like, "I'll take them both."
Shut up and take my money.
But I can't say who it is because it's a present and it's a surprise thing, and I have to deliver them later. But these are both forged out of the same steel, and James Helm, he's the one that gave me a lot of information on how to make this impregnated, epoxy impregnated wrap. But it's a big bolo machete of my design, and then a little knife to go with it, a little companion. And so it wasn't originally supposed to be a recurve knife, at least not that much, until I found a cold shut along the edge when I was sharpening it. So I had to grind it back. But that's what I'm talking about, hiding mistakes. Yeah, it's 8.
Yeah, but it's nice looking.
And they're
beautiful.
I love the forging. In fact, if I could get away from the stock reduction and move all into forging, I may do that. Just because I like the rough look. But I mean, that's all done with a hammer. The only thing I ground to clean up was the profile, and then the edge when I was fine. And you can see it's a little bit marred because we were out chopping stuff with it. And that's what I love. It's so when I'm doing a user. Oh yeah, it's a user. But when I'm doing a stock reduction knife, like this one right here. So it's been heat treated. It's got the rough grinds and everything like that. But I'm hand sanding it, and so on this side,
see if we can get a good look at that.
Yeah, I just got to hit a little bit of alcohol. But this side, that's got a 600 grit hand satin finish. Now you'll see a little bit of tape residue, but that'll just wipe off with the alcohol. And all the scratch marks are going in the same direction. You got to get it real pretty. That's all hand sanded. That's like 2 hours of work just to sand it. And then, you know what happens? All the dust in here, because I mean it's a small workshop. I mean this isn't just where I make my knives, but it's also where we do all of our shipping for my stoves and all my other products. But all the dust that comes off of the knife and the wood and the grit from the sandpaper, it gets in the air, it gets on everything. And so while I'm hand sanding that, I can get, and the flies are just all over me. Drive me nuts.
Okay, let me get that for you.
I know. I got it. But so with this, I'll spend all this time getting one side perfect, and then if I don't cover the other side with tape, then just a little tiny microscopic movements, or if I take a paper towel to wipe it off a fingerprint, there could be grit on that paper towel, and it'll just go, and it'll put a scratch on the knife. And then I got to go back and fix it. And if the scales are already attached, if the handle scales, there's really, really hard to get right in there and keep the scratch pattern going the same direction. Because if you try to wipe it this way, now you have like a windshield wiper shaped scratch on the knife. You can't avoid scratching it.
Yeah.
So this drives me up a wall.
Scratch it in the right direction.
And so that's one of the challenges of doing this is your order of operations. How do you do it so that when you're done with it, it's like, okay, it's good, it's perfect. All I got to do is get it in the hands of the customer or whoever's going to, and it's not my problem anymore. But with forging, all those little hammer marks and dinks and even the rust that you can just take off real quick with a Scotch-Brite, that just adds character. 100. So that's what I really want to push. So what I do...
Yeah, so tell us about this.
Again, once the knife's all done and pretty, then I think you hold that. Then what I do is I hide it inside one of these bags so that it can't get scratched or dirty until somebody... There we go.
This stuff?
Yeah, just pull it straight out. It's okay. It's a little rust inhibitor that I put in there. And so, yeah, that one fought me. That leather carving took a while to get done. But hand polished, 600 grit. I mean, I can see the mistakes, but hopefully I've hid them for most people. And then the leather's hot waxed. Hot wax with beeswax, and then I make my own little logo plaque. That was out of a cartridge shell, I think a 270. I opened up and so I didn't have any brass. I just used that, and then you know, everything all hand stitched and everything, and it's so beautiful that, you know, what happens is you got to keep it pretty until it goes out to, you know, somebody who's gonna give it character and start wearing it in.
So one of you collectors out there, pick it up.
And so it's that's also 80 CRV2 steel. The handle is, I believe, Brazilian rosewood, and it wants to patina. It's a carbon steel, you know. So I just try to keep it pretty until it gets into somebody's hands, and then they can cut onions with it and put mustard or sriracha on it or whatever. It'll
Do
stain.
whatever patina they want to do.
Yeah, it'll stain. It's designed to. That's what carbon steel does. But until then, I've got to keep it all packaged away. Actually, I'll have to make a
You're
new
gonna
one.
have to do a new one now.
Yeah, it's okay.
we opened it.
No big deal.
No.
And he wanted like a little 3-inch carving knife, you know. So this thing's about 2.5. Improvised. That's what works. So with the forge, and then clean it up with the grinder, you know, just to make it look really pretty. But I love the look, and it's simple. And you know, I'm sure some of those guys that you've been hanging with, I forgot his name, that other Bladesmith,
Jared?
yeah, Jared's Forge and all that. I'm sure they look at what I'm doing and just cringe. They're like, he doesn't have a clue, and it's like, yeah, you're probably right.
What do you think, Jared?
You probably say, don't hit it while it's cold like that. And I go, I know, but I'm not, all I'm doing is just really lightly just straightening it. I'm just planarizing it is all. I'm not moving a lot of steel. So that's, you know, you can see the bevels are hammered in. The spine's fairly straight and even. Except for right there. And then the rest, from there I'll clean up the profile on the grinder. You know, I'll just take it and I'll just do a little bit of cleanup on the grinder. And then I'll probably bend this tang a little bit more. I gotta get the tang more centered. It's always a struggle for me. But yeah, because like I said, you only wanted a knife about that long. So I'm gonna make it about that long. And I might draw it out longer so it's a little bit more delicate, but. Yeah, and all I'm doing is I'm just cleaning up the profile. And so I'll go through this process a couple of times where I'll clean up the profile, I'll clean up the plunge,